Thank you so much, Jenny and Natalie, for inviting us to join this exciting launch of the Small Business Social Impact Summit. We're really honored to be part of this today. We launched the Greater Philadelphia Civic 50 earlier this year, and we had a very significant focus on ensuring that small and medium businesses, as well as large businesses, were part of that overall process. So it is my absolute pleasure. I see in the chat that there are many, many companies who participated in the Civic 50 in the Philadelphia area. So shout out to all of them. It is my particular pleasure to have the opportunity to shine the spotlight on two companies that we're very proud of. First, let me introduce you to Mia Fioravanti, who is the Executive Director for FS Investments, as well as the Executive Director for FS Investment Foundation. Also joining us in the conversation today is Steve Holman. He is the advisor to the Board for Community Affairs at Holman Enterprises. So welcome to both of you. And first, let me congratulate both of you on being two of the honorees for the Civic 50 inaugural year in the Greater Philadelphia region. Just thrilled with both of you participating. So I know we're tight on time here today. You're both doing so many amazing things. So why don't we start out with you, Mia, and give us a little background on what your company is focused on, because everybody has different definitions of small and medium businesses. Tell us about FS Investments and your role there.
Sure. Thanks, Diane, and hi, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here today. So as way of background, FS Investments is a Philadelphia-based asset management firm. Our founders started the firm to provide everyday investors with access to asset managers and investment opportunities that had historically been available only to large institutions or the very wealthy. So our first fund was launched in 2009, at which point we had 23 employees. And today we manage over 23 billion in assets and employ just over 300 people. So in my role at FS, I serve as Executive Director of Corporate Social Responsibility. I'm responsible for really driving strategy around all of FS's CSR initiatives. As Diane mentioned, I also serve as Executive Director of the FS Foundation, and I co-lead our firm's diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts.
Thank you, Mia. And Steve, you have a unique role at Holman Enterprises and also have a wonderful opportunity there as a family-owned business. Tell us about Holman Enterprises and yourself.
Well, Holman Enterprises was begun as a single Ford tractor and car dealership in 1924 by my grandfather, and is now a national and international company in the automotive sphere, about 6,000 employees coast to coast. I have been a full-time employee of the company for just about a decade, and was brought in because our company experienced a lot of growth in the last decade, and our family felt like our community support strategies were not keeping up with the growth of the company. And I was brought in to try to create strategy around how to turn their vision into reality.
So Steve, let's start there in the conversation. At what point, and that's a significant growth trajectory that your company has been on. At what point in that growth process did you make the decision, your family and the executives there, to make a more formal strategy around your civic engagement and CSR?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly when the moment of epiphany was, but my sister, who at the time was the CEO, was handling all of our CSR efforts, and she understood that her various responsibilities were not letting her focus fully on what she saw as our company's role in the communities where we have employees and we have customers. So, I think with that realization, the need to create more structure around those goals became obvious, and they brought me in to try to make their vision reality.
That's great. Thanks, Steve. Mia, I know you have a large portfolio that you manage at FS Investments, but there's one initiative in particular, your Financial Scholars, where you have really in that signature initiative accomplished so much in a short period of time and are actually right in the middle of a rapid expansion. Can you share with folks what you're doing in that initiative? And it's interesting that Jeff has just presented the framework to us because it appears that you have structured your strategy much around that framework. So share that with us if you would.
Sure, of course. So, I think just generally at FS, we believe that a key aspect of corporate citizenship is providing civic leadership. And we're also really considering equity and inclusion when determining how to focus our philanthropic resources. So I think both were, driving factors in the establishment of our signature philanthropic program, Philadelphia Financial Scholars. Initially, we saw the need for and lack of standardization around financial literacy education nationally. So in response to that, several years ago, we established a program that we've run in collaboration with the University of Pennsylvania called FS Financial Scholars that has been primarily focused on providing financial empowerment tools and entrepreneurship training to Philadelphia high school students and their families. So since launching that program in 2016, we've grown significantly from one pilot school to now 15 public and charter schools across the city. But this past year, in observing the disproportionate impact of COVID, both from a health perspective and financially, we really challenged ourselves as an organization to find ways to be more impactful in our community, particularly around systemic issues. So we ultimately determined that the best way for us to be, part of the solution was to expand the program in order to provide students and families with wealth building tools, while also recognizing that increasing financial education is only one part of the equation. I think it's important to recognize that. So this past year, we moved forward. We spun out this existing FS effort into a new independent nonprofit, again, called Philadelphia Financial Scholars, eliminating the FS brand. And over the past year, we've recruited a number of new partners to join the organization, many of which are from the financial services community, but certainly other supporters as well. Law firms, accounting firms, representatives from community organizations, entrepreneurs, and educators. So in a short time, we've raised multiple years of operating capital. We've established a strong group of industry partners that will provide necessary financial and volunteer support. So I think for us, it's an example of how something that was once a vehicle to bring the FS community together has evolved and become an industry initiative. And importantly, with this new support, we'll be able to expand the work. We aspire to not only grow the program here in Philadelphia, but also work to establish chapters in other cities.
Thank you. I'd like to applaud you because that is such a rapid growth strategy and really is stepping forward as a civic leader and stepping outside of your individual company. So that's really something to be applauded. Steve, as you talked about the growth of Holman Enterprises, you have, as you said, have made the decision and you're very fortunate to have the senior leadership right there with you. How important was having the senior leadership behind you? And what's it look like going forward in terms of where your focus may be moving, say, from local giving to making your impact across the markets that you operate in?
Yeah, we've heard a lot of great evidence this morning already on how how having robust CSR impacts bottom line. But in my case, I never had to make that argument because it was really from the founding of the company. There was an understanding that we needed to be a good neighbor and be as impactful a neighbor to strengthen the communities where we had businesses. So I feel like I have possibly the easiest job in my sector because I don't have to convince anyone of the importance of the work that the company tries to do in that sphere. We're still a family-owned company. The family believes that the company is a force for good. So all I have to do is take that vision and make it work. So I feel like my job is easy. And I think that if you were to talk to any of the leadership in the company, they'd say that, we want to remain a family-owned company. That's plan A, and there's just no plan B. So I think as long as the family is involved and the vision of the family is involved, that will always stay a strong part of what we do as a company in the communities where we serve.
Well, I'll say you certainly are quite humble, because you have, as I have seen in the other members of the Greater Philadelphia Corporate Volunteer Council, you are a real student and really do study and create strategies that are quite effective. Both of you honorees in the Civic 50, share with us. I think Jeff did a great job highlighting the framework. How much did participating in the Civic 50 and having that community impact framework give you the opportunity to think through your strategies, revise them, enhance them, and even possibly operationalize them? So why don't I start with you, Mia, and then we'll come back to Steve while he thinks about his answer.
Sure. I mean, I think that, particularly this past year, as a lot of organizations did, we really took time to evaluate our efforts and determine where we needed to shift or dedicate more resources. I think the Civic 50 application, because it was so comprehensive and looked at numerous areas, as Jeff outlined, really shown a spotlight on areas that we needed to focus on more, perhaps with tracking metrics around volunteerism as an example, or other factors. So I think, it was such an honor to participate in the Civic 50 program, but it also was incredibly helpful for us as an organization in evaluating our CSR work.
Well, again, congratulations. And I know you took it very seriously, because I spoke to you on a Saturday, I spoke to you on a Sunday night. You really took it seriously. Steve, what was your experience with it?
Well, it was a great learning experience for us. You mentioned that I'm kind of a student of CSR, and that I am because I didn't know anything about it. And so the way I learned was reading, studying what other companies do. And this just gave us another benchmark to understand how we could strengthen communities where we have businesses, and see what other companies were doing. Gave us another lens to look at our results through, and it's really eye-opening. There were ways that we never really thought were important that we understand now that we have to strengthen to be a really good neighbor. So, it was great learning for us, and it's something that we hope we can continue to do.
That's great. Well, it's a journey that never ends. So it's just really something that I think gives us the opportunity to speak the same language with each other as we think about the 4 I's and where you're at on that journey. It's always opportunity to continue to grow. As I said, our time is very tight today, but I did want to ask both of you to, there's so much that you're doing. You both have amazing cultures that really welcome and encourage employee volunteerism and engagement. Talk to us for a second about the culture in your company and how important it is for your employees to have the kinds of opportunities that you're providing to them and that you're supporting them in the community. We'll start with Mia.
Thanks. I think as an organization, similar to what Steve described, we've worked really hard over the years to make FS a place that we can all be proud of. So, at the employee level, we put a lot of effort into providing the people who work for us with resources and opportunities to live healthy, fulfilling lives. And we believe a core aspect of this is providing resources to help them be more civically engaged. So, for example, we provide all of our employees 3 paid days of volunteer service annually, and we're in an ordinary environment, providing people with monthly opportunities to utilize those days. We have a matching program. We train people for nonprofit board opportunities and help to place them in nonprofit board positions. So these resources, we believe, again, help to instill a really strong sense of civic responsibility among our employees that not only helps us achieve our goal of being a good corporate citizen, but also drives a particular mindset at the firm that reinforces the fiduciary duty we owe our investors. And if I could add, I think that despite this being a year of incredible change and uncertainty, we're really proud, committed to civic service. So in lieu of, in-person volunteer events, our colleagues participated in virtual volunteering. In many cases, we saw people increase their contributions to charitable organizations and utilize our matching program. And importantly, we placed an even stronger emphasis on supporting organizations that are working to address systemic issues and promote equity inclusion. So I think overall, this has been a really strong, cornerstone of our culture, and will continue to be.
Great, thank you. Steve, your thoughts?
Well, I certainly agree with what Mia has said. We have always, I keep saying we're a family business, and we like to feel like our employees are part of that family. And I think that the year of the pandemic showed us that there are ways that we can improve their experience. Any of our leaders say that we only are a good business because we have good employees. And so we understood, and actually this is partially through the lens of the Civic 50, that there are ways that we can continue to improve their experience. It's fundamental to the growth of our business and any business is to have employees that feel fulfilled, happy, and they continue to be a focus of our efforts to be a good business.
And that's great. You have the AFLAC research to share now with your family, which is fantastic. Well, I'm sorry, we're at the end of our time here, but would love to hear from each of you closing thoughts, whatever on your mind that you think all of the wonderful people who are joining the webinar today would benefit from. So Mia.
Thanks. And it's somewhat repetitive, but despite this challenging year and a half, it seems that we've all remained very committed to civic service, and in many cases increase those efforts. So I guess my closing thought is that that's very inspiring to me and speaks volumes about each of the organizations participating today.
Steve.
Yeah, just to reiterate that it is inspiring to us to feel like we're part of a larger movement of companies that understand that doing good is important for not only for themselves, but for the wider community. So we're happy to be part of that and very pleased to be part of the Civic 50.
Great. So well said. We'll end on that note. Thank you both so very much for sharing your story, and we'll look in CC to see what else we can be learning and share your stories there.